What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the Tango Down Aimpoint Acro lens guard. So this is a lens guard for the Aimpoint Acro P2. So this is the box that it came in. I have already opened this. I have already taken it to the range where I shot about 150 rounds with this particular guard on it. It does say to apply a very small amount of blue Loctite to the screws, but I did not before I shot it. I just kind of wanted to see what would happen. More on that in just a moment. My initial impressions are pretty good. I think it's going to do what it's intended to do. I paid about roughly $47 and some change, so we'll call it 50. We'll get to that later in the video on whether or not I think it's worth it or not. If that's all you're kind of concerned about, you can kind of skip to the very end and I'll mention that. So the reason that I did not put the blue Loctite on it initially is I just kind of wanted to see how well it would hold up. I'm sort of hesitant to put blue Loctite on it because the threads are so fine and the screws, the Allen head screws, are so small that I could very easily see the Loctite causing the screw to strip when taking it out, if for some reason you wanted to take it out. As far as the installation goes, it does come with this very small Allen wrench. This is probably the diameter of a paper clip. And so this is included in the box, which is nice of them because I don't know that I've ever seen one that small before. So first we'll make sure that the gun is unloaded, which it is. Safe direction. So these are the screws. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see them. I mean, it's truly that small. And there is one on both sides. So when I shot the 150 rounds through this yesterday, this side must have like a burr in it or something, which is working in my favor, because it didn't move at all. It was rock solid. This one, on the other hand, this one almost backed all the way out to where I could have very easily lost it had I not realized that the screw was backing out. I got about the 150 rounds through it before that happened. So I am going to put some blue Loctite on it today. We'll see what happens. But installation, very easy. I mean, it took, a minute, if that long. I'm not going to take it off because my advice to you would be put this thing on with the blue Loctite and leave it. Don't be trying to take it on and off. Because these screws, with one moment of carelessness, could very easily be stripped all the way out, cross-threaded, or the actual Allen head screw itself could be stripped out. So I'm only going to take this off one more time and put it on one more time to put the blue Loctite on it here shortly. How it goes on is the front has this groove, and it basically operates like a tongue and groove, where the groove on the inside of this cover slides into that groove. Once it's square on the top up here, the screw holes, there's those little Allen head set screws, screw right in. This is not threaded on the inside of here, it's just threaded on this actual cover itself. And at the end of the screw, there is like a sharp little point, like a little scribe point, like you'd see on a lot of iron sights that have the little screws to hold them in place. So that's kind of a nice little feature. It does not have any sort of lens cover. This is all the way through. I wasn't sure when I bought this whether or not it was going to have some sort of cover in it or not, so that was one of the questions that I had. The other question that I had was, is this going to work with a non-MOS slide? Because I was sort of concerned that the bottom of this would not allow this to seat properly, because I have a slide that was milled by JagerWorks specifically for the Acro P2, and as you can see, try to get it in the light, it doesn't touch it at all. And so that caused me, that's probably the best view, caused me a little hesitancy to want to pay almost $50 for this thing when I wasn't even 100% sure that it was going to work for me. So if you do have a direct mounted Acro P2, there is a good chance that it's going to fit perfect. I think it'll probably fit, but my disclaimer, since I don't know how other companies do it, I would take this with a grain of salt, but for the JagerWorks cut, it works perfect. So it doesn't really add any width. The only other video that I've seen for this lens cover was sort of a holster compatibility video. As far as Raven concealment holsters and G-code holsters, which is what I've run with this, yesterday I ran a Raven and a G-code and it worked perfectly. As you can see, there are no witness marks or anything like that. There is a witness mark here. That's from the Tenacore, I think it's called Surtum holster. So I'm going to have to modify that a little bit. As you can see, this is really no wider than the battery cap, aside from this little set screw area. So I have a feeling with that Tenacore, I'm going to have to grind it down a little bit to work. But with the other two holsters, I had no problem whatsoever. So it doesn't add any width, really. You cannot see it. Another thing that I was sort of worried about was, is this going to protrude over top of the glass? I'm new to shooting an optic on a handgun, and I was kind of concerned, okay, well, the glass is already going to be only so large, and if this is kind of in the way of the view, how well is it going to be, and is the sort of protection going to be worth kind of taking away from my visibility? As you can see, I'm trying to move it around in kind of subtle different angles. You don't really see it at all. So it really doesn't take up any of my field of view, which is great. Really, the main purpose of this, I think, is not so much to protect the glass, because there is nothing in front of the glass. It aids in protecting the glass, but the main thing that I think it's meant for is to protect the body of the optic. If you're hitting it off a table, or you're racking it off your belt, or you're doing some, manipulation and you slap the optic or whatever the case is, I think it's more so to protect the body, and then it does aid somewhat, since it does sit a little proud off the face of the Acro, to sort of protect the lens that way. So there you go. That's sort of the down and dirty. Do I think it's worth the money? So like I said, I paid $47 and some change, so roughly $50. It's certainly well built. It does appear to be made out of some sort of aluminum. Maybe. That's going to be my real answer. I'm not sponsored by Tango Down. They don't know who I am. I'm not sponsored by anybody. I paid for this with my own money. This is my own opinion, as everything on my channel is. I can see both sides. I can see, well, that's a little much for what it is. You could argue maybe it's more of a $25 or $30 item. That's kind of for you to decide. The flip side of that is the Aimpoint Acro P2s are, let's face it, an expensive optic. They can range anywhere from $600 MSRP on Aimpoint's website to, if you start playing games with the secondary market because you really want one and can't find one, I've seen people pay as much as $1,000 for these things. So, is paying $50 to aid in minimizing damage to a potentially $1,000 optic? I can see the argument there that it would be worth it. In theory, if you bang this one all to pieces, you can just take it off and put a new one on, and you've essentially saved your $600 to $1,000 optic. So from that standpoint, I can definitely see the value. Um, that being said, I'm going to run it in a class next week. We'll see how well it works. We'll see if with the blue Loctite it stays on, and if I have any other sort of problems with it. And if I do, because I haven't had any problems with it yet, since I technically didn't follow the instructions, I can't really say anything negative about that screw backing out. That's just how it goes. If I do have those problems, though, I will make an update video. But as of right now, it's an interesting item. I don't regret buying it at all, and just wanted to get some information out there because I was sort of hesitant to spend the $50 on a gamble. And so I wanted to sort of answer all the questions that I had that I was looking for to sort of help aid you in making the decision on whether or not you want to buy one of these for yourself. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any other comments, please leave them in the comments below, and I will try my best to answer them. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day.